the first thing I think is like the biggest movement that's happening next year starts on January the 20th, and that's Pluto is moving into Aquarius. So to describe Pluto, Pluto is a very slow moving planet. The further out a planet is, the slower it's going to move, right? So Pluto moves in a fashion where it really defines an entire generation of people. So millennials are often Pluto and Scorpio. If you were born between 1972 and 1983, you might have a Pluto in Libra. And these are different generations. That would be like what they call that Gen X or something, or, later
Yeah.
millennials.
They're so forgotten. Everyone's like, millennials, Gen Z. And they're like, fuck you guys. What about us?
So when these planets shift, we see big, huge generational shifts in the world. It really feels like this is just like a new moment in time. So I'm going to take you in the Wayback Machine to the last time that Pluto shifted, because that would have been in 2008. So if you want to look at your chart and see where Capricorn is, because Capricorn's right behind Aquarius, this is where generationally you have been telling a story. So Pluto represents transformation, decay, birth, like death and birth cycles. So like redoing something, recycling something.
Wow.
Just like burning that motherfucker down kind of thing. So wherever Capricorn is in your chart, whatever house it's in, that's where it's been doing a lot of work over the last, how's that, it's like 15 years or so. And so you will see a story in your life kind of play out. So usually, like if it was in your fourth house, the fourth house rules the home, the family, the living situation. So you might have moved, if that was happening for you.
Wow.
So you'll want to see the associations of that particular house. And there's a story that will be ending so that a new one can begin. And that's what you're here to change. Now, because this happens over like a very long period of time, it's not going to happen very like suddenly, but you're going to start to see this change. And then you can look back when Pluto moves into Pisces, which it will like, 15, 20 years from now, and see what that full story was about. So the first house, quickly, if this is happening in your first house, this is your physical body, this is your job, this is how other people see you. You're redefining that part of you. So we'll see like major transformations if you're like, for example, an Aquarius rising or Aquarius ascendant. That's physically who you are is transforming over the next 10, 15 years, right?
Okay.
Because in your second, it's going to deal with.
Really quickly, are people looking at where Pluto is or where Capricorn is?
They want Capricorn is in their chart.
Okay.
And they're already see a story that is ending in their life, right?
Okay.
So perspectives, like, okay, so if where Capricorn is in your chart, that is the story that's ending. Okay. And where Aquarius is, this is where the story is beginning. So quickly, I will go over some of the significations of the houses so you can kind of.
Sorry I interrupted. I wanted to.
No, that's great. I like questions. It makes me feel like you guys are understanding things better and I'm not just talking. Okay, so the first house will be physical body, like I said, yourself, who you are in the world, changing, transforming. This might look like who you're, a lot of times we can see this in relationship to other people. So people can go through divorces, they can go through marriages, their physical name is changing, who they are, their job changes, but it's physically things that physically people can see that are happening in your life, right?
Wow.
So if you're an Aquarius rising, Pluto is moving there. If you're Capricorn rising, Pluto has been doing that since 2008 for you. So that makes sense?
Yes, that makes total sense.
Okay. So second house is a lot to do with our finances, our diet, and our self-esteem. So if it's moving into there, these things are about to change. Maybe it's your finances. If it's already been in there, maybe you've learned some powerful lessons in finances over the last, 15 years or so. Third house has to do with communication, siblings, vehicles, and short trips. And when I say short trips, I don't mean like going to the next state. I mean like this is any travel within your country, right? So stuff like that. Going on tour, I guess. A US tour. Sorry, third house. Fourth house is home and family and your emotional center. Fifth house has to do with children. And then also like the creative babies that we have. Like if you are an artist or, you're working on your art in some way, self
Oh,
fifth house. Sixth house is our health and our habits. The seventh house is our partnerships, and that's not just romantic, although it can be. It's the people who we have soul contracts with, whether that's a sibling, whether that's a business partner, it's the other people in your life. The eighth house is our shared finances, debts, banks. It's all the stuff we do not like to talk about. So, sex, death, and taxes fall into this house, and transformation. So, like your phoenix moments. The ninth house is about spiritual practice. It's about higher learning, higher knowledge. It's about international travel, and it's
wow.
about philosophy and religion. It attributes meaning, where we attribute meaning to things. 10th house is career, public image. 11th house.
Uh-oh, that's the house I'm moving into. It's finally happening, maybe.
Yes. And so then the 11th
Sorry.
house. No, no, it's great. 11th house, I'm glad it resonates for you. The 11th house has to do with like how it's like the least personal house in the sense that it has to do with the collective. So it's like how other people see you. It's a house of the future. It's eccentric. Um, it's also like our hopes and dreams. So when you have people who have a lot of planets in this house, they tend to be a little bit like hipsterish, or like they're thinking ahead of things.
Oh.
And then the 12th house has to do with our subconscious and the things that are hidden that we hide from ourselves. It also has to do with um, like the dream world. It can do with addictions, clubs that you might join to get off of addictions. So it's like secret
Oh.
things, secret societies, things you're not supposed to talk about, and things that are hidden. Also, hospitals and prisons.
Which could kind of be the same thing in a way. It's like, what a
Yes.
secret society to join. Prison. That's
Yeah.
I was part of a secret society for about 20 years. They were just in prison.
So
um,
So that's the first thing I wanted to say was Pluto is moving into Aquarius. So the Capricorn story that it was telling, Capricorn is systems, government. It is kind of just like the old fashioned kind of energy. And so like it's also slow but steady kind of energy. It's an earth sign, so it's like all about things that are very practical. So those systems have been changing since 2008. They have literally fallen apart. We've seen a lot of government falling apart in places. So that's Pluto and Capricorn. So Pluto and Aquarius, again, we associate Aquarius sometimes with that 11th house, the hipster kind of house I mentioned earlier. So the 11th house and Aquarius energy has to do with the future. And it has to do with, what benefits the collective and groups of people. It's also because it's like the future, it rules things that are like technological. So, computers, when you plug in an electric guitar, that's very Uranian, that's very 11th house Aquarius energy. So it's the inventor archetype, I would say, and it's about groups and what benefits everyone else. So we're going to see a lot of changes in these areas, and obviously a lot of technological change. When Pluto moves 15, 20 years from now, we're going to be in a different world.
whoa.
And so my question to you is, looking at your Aquarius, like where this falls in your chart at home, is how is technology going to affect this area of my life in possibly a beneficial way over time? How can I connect with other people in new ways? What friends and groups of people and organizations are going to come into my life through this area of life? So, for example, if this is happening in your ninth house, maybe you've decided to go back to school and you're going to pursue a degree or something, and you're looking to find a job that benefits the collective, or maybe you're meeting new friends through this area of life. So that's where you're going to see changes start to unfold. Now, this begins on January 20th, 2024, and it will play out over a long period of time. So it's not going to happen overnight.
But
But
it's
if you
like,
plan it Aquarius too, this will especially affect you.
wow, that's
Huge.
fascinating.
Yes.
Wow. See,
That's the big broad stroke of the year.